The warning lights flashed red across the cockpit, gripped the controls as his ship shook violently. Something had hit the Soul Ranger hard, and now the vessel was spinning out of control. Through the viewport, he could see the massive trade station growing larger as his ship tumbled toward it. Had been a cargo pilot for 8 years. He knew every sound his ship made, every vibration that meant trouble. This was bad, very bad. The impact had torn through his port engine and damaged the navigation system. He was losing altitude fast, pulled toward the station by its artificial gravity. His fingers moved quickly over the console, shutting down the damaged engine before it exploded. The ship groaned in protest. Warning alarms screamed at him from every direction. Hull breach. Life support failing. Fuel leak detected. He ignored them all and focused on one thing, getting to the emergency docking bay. The station loomed before him like a small moon. Thousands of aliens lived and worked there, conducting business from hundreds of different worlds. Had delivered cargo here dozens of times. He knew the layout. The emergency bay was on the lower ring, marked by bright orange lights. He pulled hard on the controls, fighting the spin. The ship responded slowly, reluctantly. It was like trying to steer a falling building. Through the viewport, he saw other ships scrambling to get out of his way. Good. At least he wouldn't take anyone else down with him. The docking bay entrance appeared below him. It was designed for controlled landings, not crashes. Aimed for it anyway. It was his only chance. The Soul Ranger hit the first docking platform with a screech of tearing metal. The impact threw against his safety harness so hard he felt something crack in his chest. The ship bounced, still moving forward, and slammed into a second platform. More breaking sounds. More pain. The viewport shattered and the cockpit filled with smoke. Then everything stopped. Hung in his harness, breathing hard, every breath hurt. Something was wrong with his left arm. It wouldn't move right. His legs felt strange, distant. When he looked down, he saw blood on his flight suit. A lot of blood. He needed to move. The ship's fuel cells were damaged. If they ruptured, the whole thing could explode. His fingers fumbled with the harness release. It took 3 tries before it clicked open. He fell forward, catching himself badly on his right arm. More pain shot through his shoulder. The emergency beacon. He needed to grab the emergency beacon. Station security would need it to understand what happened. And the black box. The black box would show that this wasn't his fault. Someone had put debris in the shipping lane. He had seen the mining equipment just before impact, heard the automated warnings too late. Crawled through the ruined cockpit. His left leg dragged behind him, not working properly. He could see bone through a tear in his flight suit. That was bad. That was very bad, but he kept moving. The emergency locker had buckled in the crash, but he managed to pry it open. The beacon fell into his hands, small and orange and incredibly heavy. Or maybe everything just felt heavy now. He clipped it to his belt and reached for the black box mounted above his head. Standing hurt. Every muscle screamed at him to stop, to lie down, to rest. Stood anyway. He had to reach the black box. His right arm barely worked, hanging at a wrong angle, but he used his left hand to pull himself up. His fingers closed around the black box and tore it free from its mounting. Outside the ship, he could hear voices. Alien voices speaking in the station's common language. Security had arrived. Moved toward the cockpit exit, dragging the black box, limping on his broken leg. The door was jammed. He kicked it with his good leg once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th kick, it flew open. Light flooded in, harsh and bright. Squinted against it and saw shapes moving toward the ship. Big shapes with multiple arms. Security officers, probably. They always worked station security. "Human," one of them shouted. "Stay inside, medical team incoming." Ignored the command and stepped out of his ship. Or rather, he fell out and caught himself on the landing ramp. His legs gave out halfway down and he dropped to his knees. The black box clattered on the metal deck. He grabbed it again, held it close. The security officers surrounded him. their four arms reaching out but not touching. They seemed afraid to touch him. Their large eyes were wide with shock. "The debris," said, his voice rough. "In the shipping lane, mining equipment, check the black box. They need to pay for this." One of the officers, taller than the others with silver markings on his uniform, knelt beside him. "Human, you need medical attention. You should not be moving." "Black box," repeated, holding it up. "Evidence, take it. Mining consortium, illegal operation." The officer took the black box carefully, as if might break if he moved too quickly. "We have it. Now please lie down. The medical team is here." Looked past him and saw more aliens arriving with floating stretchers and scanning equipment. Medical staff. Good. He could rest now. He had delivered his cargo, the evidence that would make sure whoever caused this crash would face justice. He handed the emergency beacon to another officer and let himself fall backward. The cold metal deck felt good against his back. Everything hurt, but the pain was distant now, like it was happening to someone else. The medical staff swarmed around him with their scanners and equipment. He heard them talking in urgent voices, using words he didn't understand. One of them, a being that looked like living crystal, held a scanner over his chest. Her eyes grew wider with each reading. 17 fractures, she said in heavily accented common language. Internal bleeding, severe trauma. How is he conscious? "I'm human," said, his words slurring. "We're stubborn." The last thing he saw before everything went dark was the crystal doctor shaking her head in disbelief. The last thing he heard was her voice, speaking to her team. "Prepare emergency transport. I have never seen anything survive this much damage. This should not be possible." Then the darkness took him and knew nothing more. Doctor stared at the medical readings and wondered if her equipment was broken. The human on the examination table should be dead. Every calculation said so. Every medical protocol she knew indicated that a being with this much damage could not possibly be conscious. Yet the human had walked out of his crashed ship, delivered evidence to security, and only then allowed himself to collapse. She was a crystalline, a species that experienced pain at levels that would kill most other races. Her people understood suffering, but this was beyond understanding. "Doctor," her assistant called from across the medical bay, "the human is waking up." "Impossible," said. "I gave him enough sedative to keep him unconscious for 6 hours. It has been only 40 minutes. She approached the examination table. The human's eyes were open, dark and focused despite the medication in his system. He tried to sit up, quickly placed a hand on his chest, gently pushing him back down. "You must remain still," she said. "Your injuries are severe. You have 7 broken ribs, 2 broken legs, a shattered arm, and internal bleeding we are still trying to stop." "Did they get the black box?" the human asked. Tilted her head, confused. "The recording device. Yes, security has it. Now please, you must rest." "Good." The human relaxed slightly, but his eyes remained alert. "I need to file a report. Need to make sure they investigate the mining company." "That can wait until you are healed." "No, it can't." The human tried to sit up again and this time could not stop him without risking further injury. "If I wait, they'll destroy evidence. They'll bribe officials. I've seen how these corporations work." An alarm sounded at the monitoring station. The human's heart rate was elevated. His pain levels were off the charts. Yet he sat there, arguing with her about filing reports, had never seen anything like it. "I am calling someone who can help," she said, moving to the communication panel. "Another human. Perhaps she can talk sense into you." 20 minutes later, Nurse Park arrived at the medical bay. She took one look at sitting up in bed, surrounded by worried alien medical staff, and sighed deeply. "Let me guess," she said in Korean. "You refuse to stay down." Blinked in surprise at hearing his native language. "You're human. You work here." "I'm a nurse at the embassy section," replied, switching to common language so the staff could understand. Doctor called me because her patient won't listen to medical advice. She turned to the doctor. What are we dealing with? Displayed the medical scans on a holographic screen. The expression grew more serious as she studied them. This is bad, really bad. You should be in surgery right now, not sitting up and demanding to file reports. I gave my testimony to the security officer at the crash site, said, but I need to make sure it's properly recorded. The mining consortium that caused this will still be there after you're healed, interrupted. She pulled up a chair and sat beside his bed. Look, I understand. You want justice. But you can't get justice if you die from internal bleeding because you were too stubborn to let the doctors work. Was quiet for a moment. Then he said, can I file the report from here while they treat me? Looked at doctor. The crystalline doctor made a sound like chimes tinkling. This is acceptable. Human pain tolerance allows for this. Not really, admitted. But apparently this one is particularly stubborn. She activated her portable terminal. I'll record your statement. Doctor, can you please start whatever treatment he needs? For the next hour, an unusual scene unfolded in the medical center. Gave a detailed statement about the crash while the medical team worked around him. They set bones, stopped bleeding, and repaired damaged tissue. He barely flinched when they reset his broken arm, though saw sweat form on his forehead. Doctor watched the whole process with fascination. The pain signals are reaching his brain, she said to her assistant. The scans show it clearly, yet he continues speaking. Humans can override their own survival instincts. Not exactly, said, pausing the recording. We feel pain just like anyone else, but humans evolved on a dangerous world. Sometimes our ancestors had to keep moving even when injured, run from predators, find shelter, protect their families. Those who could push through pain survived. Those who couldn't didn't. Fascinating, said, and disturbing. Finished his statement and sent it to station security. Only then did he finally lay back and close his eyes. Okay, now you can give me the strong sedatives. Now asked, you could have had them an hour ago. Couldn't risk them clouding my memory, said. Needed the testimony to be clear. His words were starting to slur. The medication and pain were finally catching up to him. Evidence has to be solid. Can't let them escape on a technicality. Shook her head but smiled. You're an idiot, you know that. Yeah, agreed, already drifting off. But I'm an idiot with good evidence. After he was finally unconscious, stayed to help Doctor understand human biology. The crystalline doctor had dozens of questions. How much pain could humans endure? How quickly did they heal? Were all humans this stubborn, or was this one unusual? He's more stubborn than most, admitted. But the basic biology is the same for all of us. We're tough. Our bodies are built to take damage and keep going. The scans show his bones are already beginning to heal, said, studying the displays. In my species, such injuries would take months. For humans, weeks maybe, said. Bones heal faster when they're young and healthy. In good shape or he was before the crash, that'll help. As they talked, a station administrator arrived. Was a slim woman with sharp eyes and a serious expression. She worked in the station's civil affairs office, handling disputes and investigations. She nodded to and approached Doctor. I need to speak with you about your patient, said. The one from the crash. He is sedated now, replied, finally. Good, because what I have to tell you might sound alarming. Pulled up a data file on her terminal. The debris that hit his ship, it wasn't accidental. Station security analyzed the black box in the debris field. Someone deliberately placed mining equipment in that shipping lane. Felt her stomach tighten. Someone tried to kill him. Or they didn't care who got hurt, said. The mining consortium has been operating illegally in this sector. Ship must have passed too close to their operation. They probably thought destroying one small cargo ship would be easier than being exposed. Doctor's crystalline form seemed to darken. They will face consequences. If we can prove it, said, but they have expensive lawyers and political connections. They'll fight this hard. She looked at the sleeping human on the medical bed. Our best chance is if he can testify, but given his injuries. He will testify, said firmly. Trust me, you can't keep a stubborn human down, not when they're angry. Studied the medical scans, her expression troubled. He has 17 broken bones, internal injuries. According to my research on human biology, he should be incapacitated for months. Your research is probably based on average humans in average situations, said. But I've learned something working with aliens. When you tell a human something is impossible, that just makes them more determined to do it. She looked at, sleeping peacefully despite his injuries. She had a feeling that the mining consortium had made a serious mistake. They had tried to bury their problem by destroying a small cargo ship. Instead, they had created something far more troublesome, an angry human with evidence and a reason to fight. He'll testify, said again. I guarantee it. 5 days after the crash, Doctor stood in her office staring at the medical scans and questioning everything she knew about biology. The human should still be in critical condition. The broken bones should show minimal healing. The internal injuries should require weeks more of treatment. Instead, ribs were already fusing back together. The internal bleeding had stopped entirely. His bones showed signs of accelerated repair that had only seen in species with advanced regeneration abilities. Humans were not supposed to have such abilities. She called her medical team together. I am publishing these findings to the Galactic Medical Database, she announced. Other doctors need to know about human healing capabilities. Are you certain? Her assistant asked. This could change how the galaxy views humans. That is exactly why it must be shared, said. She began compiling her report, noting every unusual aspect of human biology she had observed. The rapid healing, the pain tolerance, the ability to remain conscious and functional despite injuries that would incapacitate other species. 2 hours later, her report was uploaded to the database. Within minutes, it began spreading across the galactic network. Medical facilities on dozens of worlds downloaded the information. Scientists shared it with their colleagues. News services picked up the story. By evening, the headline was everywhere. Human survives 17 broken bones, continues working during treatment. In his hospital room, was unaware of his sudden fame. He was focused on the physical therapy exercises had taught him, small movements to keep his muscles from weakening, breathing exercises to strengthen his healing ribs. It hurt, but he did them anyway. The door opened and a man entered. He was human, dressed in the formal clothes of a station lawyer. He carried a data pad and had the careful manner of someone who dealt with complicated situations. Mr. I'm Lee. I'm a legal consultant here on 7. He pulled up a chair. I've been reviewing your case. The evidence you provided is excellent, very thorough. Good, said, wincing as he moved his healing arm. When do we proceed with charges? That's complicated. Set his data pad on the bedside table, showing several documents. The mining consortium is claiming the debris in the shipping lane was accidental. They say it drifted there from a legal mining operation. They have witnesses who will testify to this. His expression hardened. That's a lie. The black box shows the debris was placed deliberately. The pattern was too perfect. Someone wanted to block that lane. I agree, but proving it in court requires more than just the black box. We need testimony from you. We need you to explain what you saw, what happened, why the debris couldn't have been accidental. Leaned forward. Can you do that, in your condition? Yes, said without hesitation. The trial will be exhausting. The lawyers will try to break your testimony. They'll question your memory, your judgment, your ability to perceive events accurately during a crisis. His voice was serious. They'll use your injuries against you. Say you're confused from pain medication, that you can't remember clearly. I haven't taken any medication that affects my mind, said. Doctor knows that. I refused anything stronger than basic pain relief because I needed to keep my memory clear. Smiled slightly. That's good, that's very good, but you should know the play dirty. They've already tried to bribe officials. They'll try to intimidate you too. As if his words were a signal, the room's communication panel beeped. His face appeared on the screen, her expression worried. There's a representative here demanding to see you. Station security is with him, but he's insisting on visiting you. Something about settlement negotiations. And exchanged looks. Let him in, said, but keep security close. The who entered was tall and covered in dark scales. His species was known for being aggressive in business and politics. He looked at with cold, calculating eyes. Mr. I am legal representative for the mining consortium. I'm here to offer you compensation for your unfortunate accident. It wasn't an accident, said flatly. The courts have not yet determined that. Placed a data chip on the table. We are prepared to offer you full payment for your ship, medical expenses, and additional compensation for your suffering. In exchange, you simply acknowledge that the incident was an unfortunate accident and drop all charges. No. His eyes narrowed. You are being foolish. The amount we offer is generous, more than your ship was worth. You could buy a better vessel and continue your work. I said no. Mister, you should consider your position carefully. You are badly injured. Recovery will be expensive. Your ship is destroyed. You have no income. We are offering you a way to solve all these problems. His voice dropped lower. Refusing our offer would be unwise. Stood up. That sounded like a threat. Security. He gestured to the guards at the door. Please escort this person out. He's harassing my client. Didn't resist as security led him away, but his parting look was full of menace. After he was gone, turned to. That was a threat. They're getting desperate. Good, said. Desperate people make mistakes. Over the next several days, Doctor's report continued to spread through the galaxy. The medical community was fascinated by human resilience. Some species began requesting human medical staff for their facilities. Others wanted to study human biology more closely. But the report also had an unintended effect. Some aliens began to see humans differently, not as the fragile newcomers they had thought, but as something more dangerous, a species that could survive terrible injuries and keep fighting. Visited with news. I've been digging into the consortium's operations. They're worse than we thought. The illegal mining is just part of it. They've been sabotaging competitors, bribing officials, even threatening families. Can we prove it? Asked. Some of it, but most victims are too scared to testify. They have a reputation for revenge. Sat down, looking tired. Your case might be the first one we can actually win. If we can prove they deliberately caused your crash, it opens the door to investigating everything else. Then we'll prove it, said simply. Who was checking his vital signs, shook her head. You're still in a hospital bed with half your body in casts. How are you so calm about all this? Thought about it for a moment. Because being angry won't help. I need to focus on healing and preparing for the trial. Emotions can wait. Doctor, who was reviewing his latest scans, made her chiming sound. Remarkable. Your stress levels are elevated, yes, but controlled. Most species would be in psychological crisis after what you experienced. Humans are good at pushing through crisis, explained. We panic later, after the danger is over. Will you panic later? Asked. Probably, he admitted. But that's a problem for future. Right now, present has work to do. That night after everyone had left, lay in his hospital bed and thought about the trial ahead. They were powerful and ruthless. They had money and connections. They would fight hard to avoid consequences. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed a human would break easily. They thought injuries and threats would make him give up. They didn't understand humans at all. looked at his healing arm, encased in its medical cast. The doctor said his bones were growing back stronger than before, something about how human bones worked, repairing themselves better after breaking. He smiled in the darkness. They wanted to break him. Instead, they had just made him stronger, and angrier, and more determined than ever to see justice done. Let them bring their expensive lawyers and their threats. Let them try to intimidate him in court. He had survived a ship crash with 17 broken bones. He had crawled out of the wreckage and delivered the evidence that would destroy them. A little legal battle wouldn't stop him now. 3 weeks after the crash, checked himself out of the hospital against every doctor's advice. He still had casts on his left arm and right leg. His ribs were healed enough to walk, but doctor warned him that any sudden movement could damage them again. She wanted him to stay at least another week. Refused. The trial started tomorrow and he would testify in person. "This is foolish," said as she watched him sign the discharge documents. "You could testify remotely from your hospital bed. Why risk further injury?" "Because juries need to see me," explained, testing his weight on his healing leg. "They need to see that I'm real, that I survived, that I'm telling the truth despite everything they did to me." Helped him into a wheelchair. The station regulations said he had to use it to leave the medical center, even though he could walk with crutches. "You're going to hurt yourself," she said, "and when you do, don't come crying to me." "Yes, Nurse Park," said with a small smile. The next morning, the tribunal hall was packed. Aliens from dozens of species filled the viewing gallery. News services had their recording equipment set up. Everyone wanted to see the human who had survived 17 broken bones testify against the powerful mining consortium. Entered on crutches, refusing the wheelchair. The room fell silent as everyone watched him make his way slowly to the witness stand. Each step was careful, controlled. His face showed the effort it took, but he never faltered. Lee stood at the prosecutor's bench, organized and ready. Across from him, 3 lawyers sat at the defense table. They watched with cold expressions. The judge, a massive being from a species known for fairness and patience, called the court to order. "We are here to determine if the mining consortium is responsible for the crash of the vessel Soul Ranger. Mister, you may begin your testimony." Gripped the stand and began speaking. He described his routine cargo run, the normal space traffic, the clear shipping lanes. Then he explained how his sensors detected debris ahead but too late to avoid it, how he tried to maneuver around it, how the impact felt, the sounds his ship made as it died. He spoke for an hour without stopping. His voice was steady and clear. He provided technical details about ship operations, navigation protocols, debris patterns. Everything was precise and accurate. The lead lawyer stood when finished. Her name was, and she had a reputation for destroying witnesses. "Mister, you claim this was deliberate, but isn't it possible you simply didn't see the debris in time, that your own pilot error caused the crash?" "No," said. "The debris was placed in a deliberate pattern. It blocked the shipping lane completely. No natural drift creates that kind of pattern." "How can you be certain? You were in crisis. Your ship was failing. Perhaps your memory of the debris pattern is incorrect." "My memory is clear. The black box recording confirms what I saw." Pulled up a holographic display. "Let's talk about your memory, mister. You suffered severe trauma. 17 broken bones. You were in extreme pain. Isn't it possible that pain affected your perception?" "Pain doesn't change what happened. But it changes how you remember it. Studies show that beings in pain often have unreliable memories." She turned to the judge. "Mister was severely injured. He was in shock. His testimony cannot be considered reliable." Stood, "Your Honor, Mister's medical records show he refused all pain medication that could affect his cognitive function. His mind was clear throughout the incident and recovery." Scales rippled with annoyance. "That's impossible. No one can function with that level of pain without medication. Humans can, said from the witness section. The judge looked at her with interest. You are also human, the judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. I'm Nurse Park. I treated Mr. at the medical center. I can confirm he refused strong pain medication. He wanted his memory to remain clear for this testimony. The judge made a note, tried a different approach. Mister, you claim the consortium deliberately caused your crash, but you have no proof of intent. The debris could have drifted into the shipping lane accidentally. Then explain the communication signals, said calmly. The courtroom stirred, froze. What communication signals? The ones in the black box recording. Right before the crash, my sensors picked up short-range communications. Mining equipment uses those signals for coordination. The signals showed active operation, not drifting debris. Smiled. He pulled up the black box data on the court's display. Mr. is correct. The signals are clearly visible in the recording. The consortium's mining equipment was actively operating in a restricted shipping lane at the time of the crash. His confidence cracked. That proves nothing. Perhaps the equipment was malfunctioning. For 6 hours, asked. The signals show consistent operation for 6 hours before my crash. That's not a malfunction. That's illegal mining. The judge studied the data carefully. This is significant evidence. Continue, Mr. Lee. For the next 2 hours, presented more evidence about the consortium's pattern of illegal operations. Station security presented analysis of the debris field. Every piece of evidence pointed to deliberate action. Fought back with everything she had. She brought in expert witnesses who claimed the signals could be explained other ways. She questions character, his business practices, even his reasons for taking that specific route. Through it all, sat in the witness stand and answered every question. His leg throbbed, his ribs ached. The casts made him uncomfortable. He ignored it all and focused on the truth. Finally, the judge called for a recess, made his way out of the courtroom on his crutches, heading for the rest area. He was halfway down the corridor when a figure stepped out of a side passage. It was a larger-than with scars across his scales. He wasn't wearing the formal clothes of a lawyer or businessman. He looked like hired muscle. Human, the growled, you should have taken the settlement. Security was at the other end of the corridor. Too far to help, calculated his options quickly. He couldn't run, he could barely walk, but he could defend himself. The reached for a weapon at his belt, moved faster than anyone expected. He swung one crutch hard, hitting this arm before the weapon cleared its holster. The alien stumbled back in surprise. Didn't wait. He swung the other crutch, catching the across the head. The alien fell, dazed. Security, shouted, keeping both crutches ready. Attack in Corridor 7. Station security arrived moments later, weapons drawn. They found standing over an unconscious, balanced on one leg, both crutches raised like weapons. The security chief stared at the scene. You just fought off an attacker with crutches while recovering from 17 broken bones. He pulled a weapon, said, breathing hard. I defended myself. The entire incident had been captured by corridor surveillance. Within an hour, the video was spreading across the galactic network. A human with healing broken bones, fighting off an assassin with his medical crutches. The images were remarkable. Back in the courtroom, the judge reviewed the security footage with a stern expression. The defendant has attempted to intimidate a witness with violence. This court takes witness safety seriously. Stood quickly. Your Honor, that person was not affiliated with the mining consortium. We condemn this violence. The attacker had security credentials showing he worked for a consortium subsidiary, the judge interrupted. Do not insult this court with lies. The judge's voice grew harder. I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff. The mining consortium is guilty of all charges, criminal negligence, illegal mining, and now attempted witness intimidation. The courtroom erupted. Aliens spoke in dozens of languages, expressing shock and satisfaction. The lawyers looked stunned. Slowly sat back down in the witness stand. He had done it. The evidence had won. Justice had won. Approached him with a smile. That was the most impressive testimony I've ever seen, and the most impressive use of medical equipment as weapons. I just told the truth, said, and defended myself when necessary. You did more than that, replied. You showed the galaxy that humans don't break easily. Even when broken, they keep fighting. Looked around the courtroom at all the alien faces watching him with new respect. He hadn't meant to become a symbol of anything. He had just wanted justice for himself and to stop the consortium from hurting others. But maybe that was enough. Maybe showing that one person could stand up to powerful corporations, even when injured and in pain, was worth something. He hoped so. The penalties were severe. The mining consortium faced fines that would cripple their operations for years. Their mining licenses were revoked across multiple star systems. 3 executives were arrested on criminal charges. The entire organization was placed under investigation by galactic authorities. Watched the news broadcasts from his hospital room, where doctor had insisted he return after the trial. She was right. He had pushed himself too hard. His ribs were inflamed, his leg was swollen, and he needed proper rest. You are stubborn even by human standards, said as she checked his healing bones. But I cannot deny the results. Your testimony changed everything. I just told the truth, said, the same thing he had told everyone. You did more than that. Pulled up a data file on her medical display. Since your case became public, 17 other companies have come forward with complaints against the consortium. Pilots who were afraid to speak before now feel safe to testify. You started something important. Didn't know what to say to that. He had never meant to start a movement. He just wanted to make sure the people who destroyed his ship faced consequences. Over the next several weeks, visitors came regularly, brought news of the investigation expanding. More evidence of corporate crimes was being uncovered. More victims were finding courage to speak up. The station council is implementing new safety regulations, she explained. They're calling them the protocols. All civilian shipping lanes will have enhanced monitoring. Mining operations near trade routes will face stricter oversight. They named the protocols after me, asked surprised. You became famous, said with a smile. The human who survived 17 broken bones and brought down a corrupt corporation. People remember things like that. Visited with legal documents. The settlement from the consortium was substantial, more than enough to buy a new ship, much more. They wanted to settle quickly and quietly, explained. Afraid of what else we might uncover if the case continued, I negotiated hard. He pulled up the figures on his data pad. You can buy 3 ships with this, or retire comfortably, your choice. Looked at the numbers and thought about his future. He loved flying, loved the freedom of space, the challenge of navigation, the satisfaction of delivering cargo where it was needed. The crash hadn't changed that. I'll buy 1 new ship, he decided. A good one, the rest goes into a fund. What kind of fund? For independent pilots who get hurt by corporate negligence. Medical expenses, ship repairs, legal fees, so they don't have to fight alone like I did. Nodded slowly. That's a good idea. I'll help you set it up. Visited most often, checking on his recovery and bringing him reports about the impact of doctors' research. The paper on human resilience had changed how the galactic medical community viewed humans. 4 hospitals have requested human medical staff, she said. They want our perspective on pain management and recovery. Doctors' paper showed that humans approach healing differently than most species. Is that good? Asked. I think so. It means more opportunities for humans in space, more respect for what we can do, checked his latest scans. "You're healing remarkably well. Says your bones are almost back to full strength, actually stronger than before in some places." She explained that to me, something about how human bones work. They repair themselves better after breaking. It's called bone remodeling. Your body doesn't just fix the break, it reinforces it so it won't break the same way again. Smiled. Humans are built to take damage and come back stronger. 3 months after the crash was cleared for full activity, the casts came off. The bones had healed completely. Doctor ran every test she could think of and found him in perfect health. "Remarkable," she said, studying the final scans. "I have documented your entire recovery for medical journals. Researchers across the galaxy are fascinated." "Glad I could help science," said, flexing his formerly broken arm. It felt strange but good to move freely again. "You helped more than science. You changed how many species view humans. Before, we saw you as fragile newcomers. Now," his crystalline form seemed to shimmer, "now we understand that human fragility hides great strength." Had one final visit before leaving the station. He went to the security office where his crashed ship had been taken. The Soul Ranger was beyond repair, but he wanted to see it one last time. The hangar was cold and quiet. His ship sat in the corner, crumpled and broken. Looking at it felt the full weight of what had happened. He could have died, should have died by any reasonable calculation. But he hadn't. He had survived, and in surviving he had accomplished something meaningful. "Saying goodbye?" a voice asked. The security chief approached with his 4 arms clasped behind his back. "I understand. Ships become like family to pilots." "She saved my life," said, touching the damaged hull. "Stayed together long enough for me to reach the station." "You saved your own life," corrected. "I was there. I saw you crawl out of this wreckage carrying evidence. I thought I was watching a dead man walk, but humans don't die as easily as we expected." Smiled slightly. "We're tougher than we look. The galaxy is learning that." 2 weeks later took command of his new ship. He had named it the Soul Ranger II in honor of the vessel he lost. It was larger than his old ship, with better engines and improved safety systems. The settlement money had bought him something truly impressive. The launch ceremony was small but meaningful. Doctor attended, along with, and they had all become friends during his recovery. They gathered at the docking bay to see him off. "Try not to crash this one," said, hugging him goodbye. "I'll do my best," promised. "If you do crash," added, "please record all medical data for science." Everyone laughed. Even, who was still getting used to being treated as something remarkable rather than just a cargo pilot. Handed him a data chip. "The pilot fund is established. First donations are already coming in. Other humans heard your story and want to help." "Thank you for everything," said. "I couldn't have one without you." "You would have found a way. Humans always do." Boarded his new ship and went through the pre-flight checklist. Everything was perfect. New systems, new equipment, all top quality. He requested departure clearance from station control. As the Soul Ranger II pulled away from the station, looked back at 7. 3 months ago, he had crashed into that station, broken and bleeding. Now he was leaving whole, with new friends and a new purpose. The navigation computer showed his route, a supply run to the outer colonies. Nothing complicated, nothing dangerous. Just a routine cargo delivery, the kind of work he had done hundreds of times before. But everything felt different now. The galaxy had changed how it viewed humans, and had changed too. He understood now that sometimes one person standing up could make a real difference. That refusing to quit, even when broken, could inspire others to be brave. He engaged the engines, and the ship jumped to hyperspace. Space stretched and blurred around him, and felt the familiar excitement of being back where he belonged. Somewhere on the station, an alien child asked their parent a question. "Why is that ship called Soul Ranger II? What happened to the first one?" The parent, who had followed the trial closely, answered. The first one crashed. The pilot survived 17 broken bones. The mining consortium thought they could destroy him, but he got back up and brought them to justice. Why didn't he stay down? The child asked. Because he's human, and humans don't stay down. No matter how broken they get, they stand back up. The child watched the ship disappear into hyperspace, remembering that lesson. Years later, when facing their own challenges, they would think of the human pilot who refused to quit, who crawled from a crashed ship with 17 broken bones and changed the galaxy. In the cockpit of the Soul Ranger II smiled and flew toward his next delivery. He was just a cargo pilot doing his job, but sometimes that was enough to be a legend. He was human, and humans, the galaxy was learning, were impossible to keep down. The stars stretched ahead, infinite and welcoming, flew into them without fear, knowing that whatever challenges came next, he would face them the same way he always had, with determination, courage, and the stubborn human refusal to give up. The Soul Ranger II disappeared into the vast darkness of space, carrying its pilot toward whatever adventures waited in the endless frontier. The crash was behind him. The future was ahead, and was ready for it.